It's raining in Costa Rica. I am sitting here waiting for my bedding to dry. People are asking me what I think about the Amy Duggar King apology today. There was a second apology. Apparently, she's now apologizing for her first apology. So this gets a little interesting, a little weird. If you don't know me, I'm Suzanne Titkemeyer. I wrote for Pathos for nearly 10 years. I had a column called No Longer Quivering. Let's do this thing. Let's talk about this apology. I'm sorry. So this afternoon, I came in here for a few seconds and saw the apology, and I watched it 2 or 3 times. And I'm still not sure how I think about this, except to say, if you have friends that are such a-holes that you have to apologize twice for something bad you've done because your first apology makes a lot of people super angry, maybe you ought to reconsider your friendships. Maybe you should look at that, because Amy came across as just about as same insincere as she did in the first one. What she did to Backwoods Barbie, and she can still say, oh, it was just a general redneck woman that I'm answering all my haters. Amy only has haters because of her association with a certain somebody who posts something up for 15 minutes about the apology, her apology, and then took it down. And her apology was throwing Amy under the bus horribly for the entire thing. So, Amy, stop apologizing. Please, please, please end your friendship with this person. This person is not doing you any good. They twisted your arm into saying horrible things about your family again and again and again. And I get it. You're jealous. You were never accepted quite like they were. And you were kind of the wacky cousin Amy as a side character on the show, on the Duggars, 19 Kids and Counting, or whatever they were calling it at the time. I get that. I get the fact that you grew up without a father and all of that, and your path was different than your cousin's, so you didn't get quite as much attention from the media. It is what it is. Time to grow up, girl. Time to grow up. And when you apologize, say, hey, I'm apologizing. You guys are all telling me how awful this person is. This person, I'm sorry I hung out with them. I'm sorry I talked trash about my cousins. I don't know what kind of family relationship she has with the Duggars right now, because I don't know. In my family, my Cajun family, man, we'd be fighting if some of the things that were said between our family like that. And anybody else, particularly if we had somebody else getting in the middle of it off to the side saying, hey, say that about them. Tell me about them. Gossip about them. Amy, you sealed your fate in this thing the day that I don't think she did, Angela. I think she's just saying all this crap in an attempt to get off. Amy screwed up. Amy got caught at it. Amy gave an insincere apology, and she's getting pushback. Now, I don't know if I'm not saying that the pushback is wrong or right. That's really, everybody has to make their decision. But I'd already decided a long time ago that if she's hanging around with KJ, she's kind of a tacky ass, you know what else. So the only way for her to ever rectify the situation is to break off her friendship without a box of Kleenex and move on. That's the only way that anybody is ever going to respect you about this. I didn't buy Amy saying I'm sorry. Angela, I don't either. Not apology 1, apology 2. To me, it strikes me as, all these politicians, they get caught with their hands in the cookie jar, and they get up and they have these huge apologies, and their dear little wives stand off to the side smiling and forgiving. Her apologies strike me about as sincere as that. And the only political wife that I know that didn't take it was Mark Sanford's wife, and she divorced him, as well she should have. So if you are apologizing, it behooves you to at least be a little bit sincere about it. This is just her trying to wiggle out of being in trouble. I guess next we're going to see her lash out. That will be next time instead of apologize. And double down on her friendship with who you know who. Jealousy of your family members is not a good look, Amy. It's just not. And you say you've moved on, and I've seen you treating poor Jill Duggar, not Seawald, what am I saying? Dillard. I've got my Duggar daughters mixed up. That's how infrequently I keep up with them now. Amy is Katie's puppet. And I think that the best thing she could do would be to cut those strings, just like, was it Lindsay Chrisley that had been manipulated for quite a while by KJ and had to cut the puppet strings and then move away? We see how she is with her so-called best friends ever. This is common. If she calls you a best friend, she's going to throw you under the bus at some point. The minute that things get slightly rough, she will just throw you under the bus. And the quicker Amy learns this, the better off. Hey, Shayna. Glad to catch you tonight. I came on for a few minutes because a couple people had PM and said, hey, you're going to say something about this. And it's raining here. There's not a whole lot to do. It's raining. I'm doing laundry. I baked biscuits and made chili earlier. So I'm kind of like just done for the day. I'm going to take a shower and lay down as soon as the bedding is ready. So I thought I would just sound off on this because the more I look at this, the more I'm just like astounded that she keeps apologizing. Hey, Kira, I don't understand why she keeps apologizing. You can clarify, you can say, yes, I'm rethinking my friendship with this person. There's a lot of things you can say. But saying you were sorry for your apology offending other people is pretty lame. It just is. Are we going to see the endless apology tour here? Because we know that without a box of Kleenex is certainly not going to apologize more than she already did. Hey, Dana, threw Amy under the bus. And that's just what she does. I guess I should be glad that she's not fighting with JKJ, whatever that everybody else is fighting with. I just saw Bobby's video he did on that, and I'm just laughing because I don't even know who this person is, and they're all fighting. YouTube has not been sending me heads up on lives lately. Southbug, it isn't on me either with a lot of the people I follow. I have to actually physically go in and look sometimes. Hey, Lisa. One thing is for sure, KJ made it worse for Amy in this situation. I hate to say it, but what a Houston tragedy. Am I really that far behind the times? She did make it worse for her. And the only thing that Amy can do at this point to win back her subscribers, okay, I can look at CNN, you're saying the Houston situation. The only thing she could possibly do to make it even halfway well again is to completely do away with her friendship with without a box of Kleenex, and to apologize for that. To apologize for throwing her family under the bus to her. You don't do that to family. I don't care how much you're even fighting with family. You don't do that. Yeah, she threw her under the bus. Oh, 8 people died. What happened? Did they get trampled? Was it Deadly Texas concert? Hundreds were injured. Astroworld is still open. I thought that was completely dead. It was a completely dead piece of property. They weren't doing anything. Oh, crush injuries. That's terrible. That is terrible. You'd think they'd learn their lesson from the Who concert back in the 70s, where all those people got mashed to death. The mother who abandoned her 3 sons for their dead brother's body to run off with her boyfriend who killed the kid. Trauma vulture. Yes, yes, yes. Exactly. You lay down with dogs, you're going to get fleas. That is certainly true. And I've never seen so many people gathered in one spot. Where were the police and security? Shayna Lee, I had been actually doing some reading recently about the Astrodome, the complex, because it has had a crazy history. And, I'm kind of the history geek. I like to read about these queens like Queen Isabella of Spain that rode into battle in her own special armor to kick ass. She rode at the front of the army. I like to read about these formerly huge places. Many years ago, during my first marriage, my first very brief marriage, my ex took me to Houston for a weekend. We were trying to save what was not savable. And we went to the Astrodome, we went to Astroworld, we did all those things. And I remember how large it was and all impressive. So finding out that it had been shuttered for many years and they keep trying to bring it back into use and then not. It's pretty surprising. It's shocking to me. I'm going to have to do a lot more reading on this because I don't understand. I don't understand why the Houston police weren't there, why they didn't have adequate security, because this has definitely happened at other concerts. Like I said, I think it happened to The Who. It was either 1977 or 1978. I don't remember. I was still with my ex at that point. I hadn't run off with the baby under one arm and the suitcase under the other yet. Kylie Jenner, baby daddy. Is that who was performing? Oh, who was performing? Houston Music Festival. 25 people were transported right away. NRG Park. The stadium complex for the Astrodome and NRG Stadium stand. Oh, wow. That is just crazy. This is going to take time for them to completely untangle the tragedy of it. And there's going to be, they did condemn it for a while after Hurricane Katrina. It was going to take millions of dollars to renovate that. And they did at times, and then they would not use it at times. It was just crazy. A long history, long storied history. Like I said, I read about it recently and was surprised they were letting that piece of real estate just go useless. There was another place in Houston that I really enjoyed, which was, I think, Westbury Square. I don't even know what has happened to that anymore. I'm going to have to do a little Googling. And you would think in a post concert world where all these terrible things happen, where there's been shootings and various things, that they would have a little more, particularly, we're still having COVID throughout the US, throughout the world, there's COVID, and they're letting people come together like that. I understand in the States, rates are dropping because more people are vaccinated, but it still hasn't gone away. It's still there. Oh, 15 Instagram posts from KJ today is nuts. I don't really watch how much she posts. I'll leave that to other people. I come behind and look and go, oh, yeah, that was a lot of posts today. That was a lot of crazy posts today. And sometimes you have times where she doesn't post much at all, and you wonder what's going on there. I believe, if my mind is not blown, that she is going to have her deposition this coming week. I want to say that it's for the 9th, and Todd Chrisley said he was going to be there, and I believe him. I believe him. I believe him indeed. I'm sure KJ is trying to pretend Amy isn't mad at her or whatever. I'm sure she's quite angry with her because KJ brought this on to her. You can't make fun of creators like Backwoods Barbie and not expect there to be a large backlash. I mean, even if she went after a tiny little micro channel like mine, there would still be at least some backlash. When KJ talks about me, I'm just like, whatever, because I know darn good and well the people who've known me for years, they know what's going on. They know that her and I were work friendly. I'm just going to call it work friendly. And she kept calling me BFF forever and all this stuff. And there are videos of her with Andrew Hall and others saying what a good friend of hers I am. So people know that. They don't believe her BS. The only ones who believe her BS are her hordes of fans. And a lot of her fans are not people that I would solicit to watch my channel anyway. They believe anything they're told. They don't seem to have much of a life. They don't seem to have much life experience. They don't seem to have any real education. So I'm looking at these people following KJ going, yeah, no, I don't think I want all of those people as my fans. Not even interested in the same fan base at all. And I'm not even interested in a fan base. I want friends. I'm here very isolated during COVID here in Costa Rica where the rates are still crazy high. They've come down, but they're way higher than they are in the States. I ain't going nowhere. I don't know about you guys, but I stay in all the time unless I'm running to Costco to pick up my order, which I'll be doing next week. So it'll be one day I'll be able to leave my house. So I'm still not sure how KJ does all she. Lately, I've come on a lot more because I've had a lot less to do. The house pretty much stays clean. I don't have to clean it much every day. Things have been a lot calmer here. There's a lot less to do. I have my artwork and stuff that I do, but that doesn't take every moment of every day. And I'm not traveling quite as much as I was. So there's all those things. Plus, there's all these crazy things happening every day. There's things happening again and again and again with KJ. And ever since I discovered that she had taken my life story of leaving my toxic church situation and incorporated as her own, I've just been not happy with her and been just ready to smack a few people around verbally, not physically, but verbally. And I stay in unless I have to go out to the store or a family function. That's kind of how I am, except I'm not even doing family functions now. I counted over 100 posts in one day once the Capitol Hill riots were going on. Shayna Lee, that was an upsetting day. I didn't make 100 posts on anything, but I was upset that day. So I'm not going to hold that against her. I will hold against her some of the things she said in regards to that. There's not approving of that. And then there's making crazy accusations. She went into crazy accusation territory. Oh, there she goes. There goes pork. I was not ready to make accusations until it was actually investigated. I was blown away because we lived in the DC area for 30 years. And it's almost impossible to get in that building. I could not believe what I was seeing on my eyes. I could not believe what my eyes were showing me. We were in a restaurant when it first went down, and my iPhone blew up. And we started watching it live on our various phones, and everybody around us was watching it live. And there was all this conversations. Everybody was upset. Sarah, I'm feeling asthma, but not quite as bad, thank God. Amy is finally living a fairly normal life and probably doesn't know who to trust. She blew it and needs to learn to just apologize and skip it. Amy Farrell, that's exactly right. She just needs to disengage herself from KJ, apologize for ever becoming involved with her, and move on. She's already apologized twice for the Backwoods Barbie thing, and that she's talked to Backwoods Barbie. Backwoods Barbie seems to be perfectly fine with it, so there it is. I was too. That day, her Twitter got that warning on it. Oh, it was crazy. That was a crazy, crazy day. Why did Amy make that video mocking people in the first place? She said she was angry about all the haters, that the haters were constantly sending her hate and talking about her. You know, I didn't see that, but I'm not part of that community. When I talk about the Duggars, I usually don't talk about Amy because Amy's really not involved with them. In fact, I think the only thing I said was how good it was that she was involved with Jill, because Jill is going through therapy and she is going through her own journey leaving. And the leaving is the hardest part because you have to look at everything in your life and reevaluate everything. And you are so shaky on where you stand with everything. So that's really where it went with all of this. I believe KJ did put her up to it. I believe that. Hey, Sun Cinema. I believe that's exactly what happened, that she put her up to it. JB may not be interested in suing her, but could easily get a restraining order on her. That would keep her from the trial. Shayna, you know what happened with restraining orders in the Westbrook case, right? They sent her 4 restraining orders and she ignored all 4 of them. Now, when I was at Pathos, sometimes we would routinely get restraining orders or threats of restraining orders. And a lot of times you do ignore them because you look at it and go, oh, that is just patently absurd. Have no intention of complying with that. Sometimes you say, oh, holy cow, this person is nuts. So you make some kind of attempt to comply with it so that you don't get sued by a crazy person, doesn't drag you through court over and over and over and over again. So I think if Jim Bob sent her a restraining order, she'd just laugh. My understanding is he already has. I've heard that from several people. I don't know how true that is. I've repeated that a couple of times on my lives because I keep hearing tales of that. But here's the thing. I don't trust everything that comes out of Duggartown either way. What I'll do is, I did this at NLQ, and I try to do this here, is when I hear gossip about the Duggars, I try to at least confirm it with a second source before I mention anything, because if you don't, you would be making 15 videos a day with just Duggars. I no longer have people contacting me left and right like I did about the Duggars, and I am glad, because I was spending Duggar insiders my entire time at NLQ. Sometimes they were right, sometimes they weren't. Exactly. Amy should not talk to KJ over the nasty things she said about Jill. I wouldn't talk to anyone who degraded my cousin like that. I wouldn't talk to anybody who treated my family like that in general. Nothing more than, you poor dear, bless your heart. That would be the most you'd ever get out of me. If she and Amy are on the outs now, she might not go to the trial. She won't have Amy and Anna as their security. I think she's going to try to go. I don't think they're going to let her in. The stuff she was saying about the victims the other night was atrocious. For ARC's mental health, is best to step away from KJMP. I agree with that. Absolutely, because the description she's given of the victims, she was naming victims the other night, the descriptions of the CP that she's given are just astounding. I have wondered if she has actually downloaded and watched Daisy's Destruction, because some of the descriptions that were given. It's pretty horrific. And I think there is no low she would not do to get a, quote, scoop. Yet she would not verify any of it. She would not do her bona fides. She's not a journalist. She's not a reporter. And Amy is just feeding the beast when she talks to her. Oh, I hope KJ goes and tries to educate court staff and cops and ends up in an Arkansas jail. That would be absolutely great. And Christine, I agree with you. She does seem to get off talking about SA. I've called her this before. She's a trauma vampire. She lives off trauma. She enjoys it. I'm sure she's actually, right up until the time that Amy got mad, was enjoying this. And I think she probably stirred this whole thing up. And now Amy is getting the bums rush. She's getting, everybody's coming after her. And let me repeat, don't anybody take anything real life ever. Don't contact KJ. Don't contact Amy. Don't call CPS. That's taking it real life. And that's taking it too far. I mean, I had to say the other day, as much as I hated to admit it, that Todd Paulson actually had some good points in his comments to AZ Conspiracy. He had a few good points. She looks high on joy when she describes SA. Yes, yes, exactly, South Bug. She better not have watched Dee Dee, because if she watched Destroying Daisy, Daisy's Destruction, she committed a crime. I hope KJ does not retaliate against Amy. I hope she doesn't either. But she's already done it. She's already thrown her under the bus in that apology that was up for only 15 minutes. I think when I do it, I get off of here, is I'm going to post that screen cap she removed, her quote apology, where she threw Amy under the bus by claiming that she asked Amy if Amy was talking about Backwoods Barbie, and Amy said yes, and that she and Amy misunderstood each other. I would hate to think that anybody would retaliate over such a silly thing. As my favorite Jimmy Buffett song says, breathe in, breathe out, move on, and just be done with it. Amy, be done with it. Be done with her. You'll be happier. Have a happier life. I guarantee you, if you found some friends that were not so by turns derriere kissing and by other turns quite nasty, you would have a happier life. She feels entitled to do anything and everything, and it's troubling to me. Lisa, she has done nothing but get worse since the Westbrook thing. I'm waiting for the day that Tati Westbrook's lawsuits are over and she can talk about it. It's going to be bad. Too many people have said she used too many specific details or any articles. Exactly, South Bug. I believe she did watch them for that reason. She's a little too descriptive for me. I think she might go stay in a hotel in Northwest Arkansas. Well, good for her. Let her go. It will be the biggest waste of money. The courts have already been notified about her. I have a feeling they're not going to let her in. Too many people have already contacted them. Many people contacted them after she took a screen cap of Josh and when she was live streaming. And when they found she was live streaming the entire hearing, they booted her out. She almost destroyed Tati's life. Yes. And you heard Tati's last video where she was talking about her and her husband were having fertility struggles while all this was going on, while she was saying all these things. She made it so much worse. She made their lives a living hell when they were struggling with one of the hardest things there is to struggle with. Wanting a child, trying to have that child, and being infertile. It's awful. You add the Clark Swanson stuff in. Here's the thing that blows my mind that I can't figure out why they're not talking about it. She talked trash about Tati's vitamins and all that way before Clark Swanson ever came into the picture. So her saying that she never said anything before Swanson is disingenuous at best. She actually did a series of articles at Pathos. I remember her and I having a discussion about the vitamins because was it Jeffree Star also had hair and nail vitamins? They both had them out at the same time, and there was some fighting, and you took mine, it was too trifling and confusing for me. It was not something I was interested in. I don't follow the beauty bloggers. I am amazed every time I see Tati how incredibly beautiful she is, even without makeup. She is just, I can see why someone might be jealous of her because she's just so naturally beautiful. It's incredible. And you put a little makeup on her and oh my goodness, it's just breathtaking. And you're right, stress is terrible when you're having fertility issues. That's one of the first things they tell you when you're trying to have a baby and you're having some issues is don't stress. And it's incredibly hard. I never struggled with that aspect of it. I was just one of those lucky people in Quiverful that I had miscarriages. I had piles of those because after my youngest was born and had her problems when she was 4 years old, and we joined the Quiverful Church, I was actively trying to have another child, and I could not. I could not. And I can tell you how frustrating that was. We were told that we should do this and bank the cord blood. That was one of the reasons we were trying. It's just too hard. At one point, I just had to say, I can't do this anymore. It's disgusting that Tati and other great people can't have kids. And then you have trash like KJ, who talks about how she hates kids and was made to have a kid. I don't get it. I used to see that all the time at the children's residential treatment center I worked at. I would be going through somebody's records, going through the treatment notes to make sure they were all in order, make sure that every T was crossed and I was dotted so that they could get a Medicare payment for this child, Medicaid, Medicare payment. And I would be reading through the histories while I was doing these audits and just be jaw dropped. And I would be thinking how disgusting it was that people that not only could not care for their children, did not make any effort to care for their children, didn't want to care for their children, to the point where some of these kids were sold into CP. I've talked about that. We've had kids we've had to actually bring to court to testify for that. It is awful. That is another thing that has just been so highly triggering ever since they started looking at Josh for this. Anybody who's ever had children and had love in their heart for children would just be hurt by this because it's so incredibly horrible on every level to think about children that are used for these things. And they are. I tease my husband that one of the reasons I like to watch Law and Order SVU is because sometimes the bad guys go to jail. I lost 5 babies. Then a drug addict walks in with their 7th baby. No fair. Amy Farrell, I hear you, girl. And I would hug you for that. I lost my pile of them. I could not have another one. And I didn't know at the time, though, that I had a bleeding disorder. I had a bleeding disorder and I had problems with endometriosis, which I did not know then either. I found out later after I had the hysterectomy that I had these issues. You just don't know. You never know. You never know if your last one is going to be your last one or not. Todd claims KJ said he was the man that changed her mind to have a child. I asked him why she tells people he made her have a baby. I saw that. Annette, and I thought, wow, that's brave. That's brave asking that. Because she certainly does say that. She talks about like it's water off a duck. She talks about like it's meaningless, not like it is the biggest thing for most of us. Most of us, when we have kids, that's our entire life. And even when you struggle with it, and there were times when I struggled with being a mom because I like to read books and do art. And there are times when I got to tell you, I was like, I'd like to park in front of the TV so I could go paint for a while. When I used to do stained glass, it was particularly interesting. I'd have to hide out in my studio when I was getting stressed out. She talks about it. Yeah, I feel bad for her son too. Grow up and see his mom's videos, her language and behaviors and actions. I think so too. It's absolutely not fair and maddening. You're right. I couldn't have children, so I do understand the pain and rage. It's a bad one. Particularly when you see so many people who could easily have children and you yourself can't. I have 3. I have one that I sometimes get along with her. I sometimes don't get along with her. Right now we're on the outs over something dumb. I'm going to have to approach her about it, but I'm going to let her calm down before I approach her about it. I have two wonderful kids, and my two wonderful kids, one of them has a very wonderful significant other that I feel like he's one of my children now too. So Toad had a lot of those questions coming at him being on our live saying nasty things about women is awful. Annette, I have a trouble with that too. Every time I've heard him call women, I mean, really nasty names, women he has no knowledge of it all. And I see that okay, you guys. Costa Rica is telling me I need to get off because nothing is working right. And that is so typical. The connection is unstable. So I'm going to bid you a good night and I'm going to go look and see if my sheets are dry yet so I can make up my bed. Y'all have a great Saturday night, Sunday morning, whatever time it is, wherever you are. And I will talk to all of you later. Oh, did you hear about the FBI raiding apartments, homes of journalists with Project? A little bit. Yeah, I did. And I'm still thinking about that Kiki Ray. I did. I heard something about that. Um, South Bug, yeah, that's a good one. That's a really good one. So good evening, all you people. I'll be back maybe tomorrow, maybe Monday. Who knows? Oh, congratulations. Congratulations, Amy Farrell. Enjoy that baby.